Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikader. Mohamed Ado on my far right is the lawmaker representing Wajir South constituency. Good morning.
Morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast. Formerly worked with Al Jazeera English for 16 years and has covered the region extensively. Gladys Bose is the woman MP representing the county of Uasin Gishu and the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast. Council Nelson Harvey joins us here on the broadcast. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Senator John Meadow, who represents the county of Nyandarua, is with us this morning in the studio as well. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, my brother.
Thank you for your time as well, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with a look at the front pages of the publications, beginning with the Standard and following the ruling by the three-judge bench of the High Court, John Chigeti, Jairus Nga, and Lawrence Mugambi. And it is going to be what will happen in the House today, according to the paper. The High Court ruling says declaring Azimio as the majority party sets the stage for a tense parliamentary session today. Will MPs from both sides abide by the verdict, or will the Kenya Kwanza part resist the shake-up? All eyes will be on Speaker Moses Masika Wetangula, whose earlier ruling now seems to have stoked a political storm. We'll be getting to the nitty-gritty details of his ruling in October 2022. First to you, Mohamed, have you received instructions from the coalition or the party you represent as to which side of the dispatch box will you be sitting today on Tuesday when the House resumes?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So the status quo remains?
I believe so, because the House has its own way of conducting business. This is a decision that will probably be appealed. I remember the day the ruling was being passed, me thinking, this doesn't look right. And the courts have now decided that Azimio is actually the biggest coalition. I believe so. But again, this is now a government of national unity, so to speak. And there's not much distinction in the ways we vote. So there's a lot of uncertainty, so we'll just be watching how things go on in the House.
If you claim you are the majority party, why not sit on the right side of the dispatch box?
We couldn't, because the Speaker had ruled that we were the minority. We'll see today whether we will be sitting on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Council Harvey, what do you make of this? I mean, when the Speaker made that ruling in October 2022, on the majority, we have seen some members of parties that were constituents to the Azimio coalition political party move on to the Kenya Kwanza part of the political divide. How do you think things are going to be turning out in Parliament today?
Well, there is a great possibility that I'm seated next to the Speaker of the National Assembly. It's an honor, because the general has fallen and the second in command must of necessity take that post, if the law is to be followed. Because the determination by the High Court is one in respect of which, in my opinion, is unassailable. And to the extent that a determination has been made that the Speaker of the National Assembly is conflicted. In fact, the point of emphasis is the conflict. And remember, at the point in time when the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who joined us, together with Moses Wetangula, was appointed to the cabinet, he relinquished his office as party leader of ANC. He resigned as a member of the ANC party. Why is it that Moses Wetangula, a distinguished lawyer, did not see the propriety of doing that? So it's my expectation, therefore, that today, when the National Assembly resumes, Moses Wetangula, being a person of interest in this matter, will sit aside and let this issue be determined by the people who have objectivity insofar as the issue is concerned. Thereafter, the question as to whether or not Azimio must move to its rightful side of the House will follow suit. I don't know the hesitation on their part, but ideally, they ought to do so.
Should they?
They ought to do so. That's the law.
Okay. Mohamed, would you?
Would I?
Would you be sitting on the right side of the Speaker?
I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to.
Senator, I'll come to you. given what has been happening and how we had seen the coalition form up and the constituent parties that formed both sides of the political divide, what do you make of the ruling by the High Court and events in the House, the National Assembly, since August 2022 when we headed for the elections?
First, Ayub, I would want to say that as a matter of where anybody sits in the House, in accordance to the standing orders of the Senate, the ones that I am very conversant with, it's not that those who sit on the right are the majority and those who sit on the left are the majority. In fact, the standing orders are very clear. And apart from the designated seats in the Senate, any member can choose to sit anywhere. So I can walk and sit on the left, I can walk and sit on the right. It's only that the tradition of Parliament is that those who sit on the right are the majority and those who sit on the left are the minority. Now, the reason why you are saying that all eyes are on Parliament is because we have developed a very bad habit of not obeying court orders, because this is a very straightforward matter. Honorable Mohammed has said they actually believe that this decision will be appealed. The reason why this decision is being appealed is because a decision has already been arrived to. So before you appeal, you first abide to the decision. The coalition that has been found to have the majority members would be Azimio. I do not agree with that decision. I do not think it is fair to lump up people and force them to be in one coalition. But a decision has been arrived that Speaker Wetangula erred in declaring our coalition, the Kenya Kwanza coalition, as a majority. But what is the fallback? We first obey that particular decision as we move to the Court of Appeal and appeal that particular decision. That is the first limb of it. The second limb of it, then Moses Wetangula must choose which side to argue from. He must either choose to argue from the side of being a principal in our coalition or an arbiter or an umpire in Parliament. He must choose to, because the reason why he has been said to be biased is because he's a party leader, he's still a party leader of a party that is party to the coalition that he declared the majority. So in that case, the people from Azimio would argue, and that was the argument that was carried in court, that this person who is declaring their coalition as the majority is already a principal in this particular coalition. So he must choose to either remain as Speaker or remain as the party leader of Ford Kenya. But I don't think there are points of argument on this matter. Okay. You can't say that this matter is overtaken by events. How is it overtaken by events and Parliament is still alive? The members of Azimio are still there. The members of Kenya Kwanza are still there. It does not matter whether we are now in the broad-based coalition, because the architecture of our constitution does not recognize broad-based. We still have the leader of majority, we still have the leader of minority. Okay. There's no architecture that will say that we are all in one side or we are all on the other side. And Parliament as a house that checks over the excesses of the executive and any other institution. Honorable Gladys, coming to you then. The ruling by the three-judge bench, to just quote what High Court Judge, the Honorable Lawrence Mugambi said, that the holding of the Speaker as a leader of Ford Kenya Party, that's Moses Masika Wetangula, and at the same time a key official in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, evokes the appearance of bias and it therefore undermines the independence of Parliament. Does this pave the way for you to assume that seat?
No. I think usually by the time you actually decide that a judgment is a valid judgment is when it has exhausted all levels of appeals. So we have not exhausted all levels of appeals. I believe that this judgment is going to be appealed, and I know that it will be set aside at a future date. I'm trying to resist talking too much about this issue, but I don't agree with the judgment as a lawyer. Yeah. And do you agree? Because there is some arguments that have been made in that particular judgment. For example, when it says that the majority party is decided according to parties, that's not the case in Kenya. But I will desist from speaking too much about it. Yeah. Yes.
When the matter regarding, to just provide context, the impeachment process of the former deputy president came about, and you were called out for statements you made in public about you being the deputy speaker. You said you first represent the people of Uasin Gishu County. In this regard, to juxtapose it, is it fair for the speaker to be the umpire, to be the arbiter who has no vote in a parliamentary proceeding, to be yet a party leader of a party in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, which is the ruling entity?
Like I said, I have very strong views against that judgment, and I am conflicted at the moment, so I will desist from responding to you.
Okay. So let's now focus on the, another important matter briefly to take a look at this. And Mohammed, beginning with you. Yesterday, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga attended a prayer party ahead of his special assignment in Addis. That is when he will be heading to the Ethiopian capital, which you had covered extensively as a reporter and correspondent for Al Jazeera English. Your party leader, that's Raila Amolo Odinga. What do you think will be the consequence, given that if he wins, he will be completely off local politics? If he loses, he said he'll be okay. He's back home. He's the son of the soil.
Mm-hmm. First of all, we wish Raila Odinga the best of luck. He's an African statesman. I believe he's the best fit for the job. He will take the African Union, which is riddled with so many issues, including the inability to speak up, efficiently and effectively for the African continent, and all the funding issues and all the conflicts that it has to deal with. I believe he is the right person for the job. The consequences, I believe there will be some consequences in the sense that if Baba is successful, and we wish him all the best, that would alter the Kenyan political scene, because such a larger-than-life political figure will be absent from Kenya's political scene, and it would be interesting to see how things go from there on in. But in the case he loses and comes back, what role is there for him other than the leadership of the ODM party, and where would that go from, in terms of the 2027 elections? So many question marks. Yeah. But hopefully he wins, and we have a son of the soil, as he loves to call himself, at the helm of the continental body.
Yeah. Council Harvey, for a man who politics revolve around, whose omnipresence cannot be gainsaid, he talked about two possibilities, either winning or losing. In the event hypothetical, as he had pointed out, he loses, what will be the bearing, especially in the context of the broad-based administration and the arrangement we have post the June 2024 protests?
I think we just need to read history. Raila Amolo Odinga has been in government in various capacities from 1997, and we've always seen what happens when he doesn't get what he wants. In the unlikely event that he loses this seat, then the status quo ante will be restored. And I foresee ODM taking their position in the National Assembly and the Senate as the majority party and resuming their active opposition role.
So the political insurance he offered post the Gen Z demonstrations could be withdrawn?
By all means, I foresee that.
What do you make of Senator Medu Odinga's campaigns, and now ahead of Saturday's elections? Yesterday, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who you support staunchly so, said that he wishes him the well.
I think as a people of Kenya, we wish Raila Odinga well, because he's one of us. If he ascends the AU, that will be one of us, and it will be an honor to the country. It will be so wrong for anybody to imagine or not support one of us on a regional or continental seat. And as we wish him well, I want to agree with my colleagues here. He has actually said, if I win, it's okay. If I don't, I'm coming back home. And I would want you to listen to the speech that he made. And it has been actually aptly captured in the Standard. Yeah. Part of what he has actually said, that we are seeing the wrongs that are happening back home. In Swahili, he was very strongly, he strongly came against the issue on abductions. That is the Raila Odinga that we know. The Raila Odinga that we have always known is a man who speaks for his people. And I would want to hope and imagine that whichever side that matter goes, he will still speak for the people of Kenya, because he's first Kenyan before he's African. He must keep our government in check. He must keep speaking against the evils that are happening. There's no way he can be a good chairman of the AUC if his own country back home is against is not offering good governance. Maybe finally, I wonder whether you have the newspaper, the Star newspaper.
I do, yeah.
I think the headline that we have there is that 100 members of parliament are headed to Ethiopia with Baba. I want to hope and imagine that the 100 members of parliament that are going with Baba to Ethiopia are doing so on their own budget. We cannot just be a spendthrift. Raila Odinga has his own secretariat that has been, that was launched between his team and the team from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There is no role that the members of parliament, in my opinion, are offering apart from the supportive role that we are offering. We cannot then be, as government, sending 100 members of parliament from tomorrow all the way to Saturday to just go and idle around Addis Ababa. These are the kind of things that are choking and hurting the people of Kenya.
Right. Honorable Gladys, he hopes for the best, yet he says whatever the outcome, he is still fine. What do you make of Odinga, given that if he ascends to that continental job, then he leaves behind a very rich political history and career, albeit at times having its fair share of challenges and shortcomings?
I think what you must credit Raila Odinga for is that he has been relevant all the years. There is no time in any government, even though he didn't win an election, that he has not been relevant. So that you must credit him. So when you look at Raila, how many people have survived politics? Many people come in, then they leave. They come in, they leave. But Raila, every government is relevant. In Uhuru Kenyatta's government, he was relevant. In President Ruto's government, he's relevant. In Kipagi's government, he was relevant. In Moi's government, he was relevant. So this is somebody who has had longevity in politics and has continued to be part of Kenya's political landscape. And so for him, even going to the AU is a good thing. I think we look at it as it's a Kenyan seat, so we are supporting him as a Kenyan to be able to go to that seat. And as a Kenyan who has been in politics throughout, from when you grew up, I don't think you ever knew, there was not a time that Raila Odinga was not in politics. So we wish him well, and you know, I believe he's going to win, but in case he doesn't, like he said, he'll come back home and he'll still be relevant. You can't wish him away. Yeah.
Was he the perfect substitute for Rigathi Gachagua in offering the much-needed balance to the government post the demonstrations in 2024?
No, if you look at it, Raila, even being in opposition, during the time of President Moi went into a coalition with him eventually to stabilize the country. You will see that during Kibaki's time, there was also a compromise where he became prime minister. The same thing with the famous handshake in Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency, and now again. So that's what I'm saying. He's been somebody who has always been the balancing act and has been the person who has come in to stabilize the country. In 2007, the post-election violence, he agreed to stand down, and that's how he became prime minister. Same thing when he joined LDP, joined with KANU at that time, stabilized the country. So I think that is his role. I think that is his calling.
At whose expense has he been the stabilizing factor if you read the political climate? For example, in the 2007 talks, the Serena talks that birthed the Grand Coalition government.
I think I've been quoted on this before. Yeah. I said there is one election that Raila Odinga won, 2007. But he loved his country enough to step down, because he could have put up a fight with it, but he stepped down, agreed to become prime minister, just for the country to have peace. And I think for that we should honor him.
And why don't other players then, I mean, to have this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, also bear such credentials when to be visionary, to think big about stability? Because if you read President Benjamin Mkapa, the late memoir, because he was one of the chief negotiators at the Serena talks, he mentions your party leader and the president by extension, Martha Karua, the NAK Kenya party leader, as the two placing childish obstacles on the way of peace until they were technically locked out of the meeting is when the conclusion was arrived at, which led to the birth of the Grand Coalition government. Why are politicians so stuck in the past and don't care about Kenya's stability and the well-being?
And that's why I'm saying we have something to learn from Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga each time he has stepped up for Kenya, not for himself as a person. And I think that is credit we must give him.
We are 2 minutes to the top of the hour. When we get back, we have an hour and 2 minutes to discuss identity, numbers and politics after the short newspaper review here on the broadcast with Mohamed Ado, Gladys Boss, Council Nelson Harvey and John Medhu. When we get back from the break, we take a look at, by extension, what the president said in Northeastern Province, what was in place, what seeks to replace that, and how that can be fixed regarding the identity, numbers and politics here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.